Welcome to iLecture Online. Now there's a very interesting relationship between the sine of the angle and the cosine of the angle. You might have already noticed that when we drew tables before. So let's take another look at the table. Here we have a table where we have the sine of the angle theta and the cosine of the angle theta and various values for the angle theta. And by now we should realize that when the angle is 0 degrees, the sine of 0 is 0 and the cosine of 0 is 1. When the angle is 30 degrees, the sine of 30 degrees is 1/2 and the cosine of 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2. At 45 degrees they're both the same. At 60 degrees it's this in reverse. The sine of 60 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2 and the cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. And finally the sine of 90 degrees is 1 and the cosine of 90 degrees is 0. So you can see that this goes from 0 to 1 and from 1 to 0, and this is essentially reversed. Then if we take 90 degrees minus theta, so you can see that 90 minus 0 is 90, and 90 minus 30 is 60, and 90 minus 45 is 45, 90 minus 60 is 30, and 90 minus 90 is 0. So you can see that it reverses everything, and this column now looks exactly the way it looks over here, and this column looks exactly the way it looks over here. Now you can see that there's this relationship that the sine of the angle theta is equal to the cosine of 90 degrees minus the angle theta, and the cosine of theta is equal to the sine of 90 degrees minus the angle theta. And for a few examples, we can see if the angle is 30 degrees, that the sine of 30 degrees is equal to the cosine of 90 minus 30, which is the cosine of 60 degrees. And notice that the sine of 30 is equal to the cosine of 60, both 1/2. And here, let's say the angle is 60 degrees, the sine of 60 is equal to the cosine of 90 minus 60, which is the cosine of 30. So here you can see the sine of 60 degrees is equal to the cosine of 30 degrees. You get the same value. And reversing things, you can see that the cosine, if the angle is 0 degrees, the cosine of 0 degrees equals the sine of 90 minus 0, which is the sine of 90 degrees. So here, the cosine of 0 degrees is equal to the sine of 90 degrees. So you can see that it works for any angle, and it's really good to know these two relationships between the cosine and the sine that you can find if you have the angle for one, and you know the value of that, that's equal to the cosine of 90 minus that angle, or the cosine of the angle equals the sine of 90 minus the angle. Really good to know that. Comes in very handy when we're dealing with sines and cosines.